Have you ever been camping or just had a bonfire with friends where you sat around it late at night and you listened to music, or maybe you played music or roasted marshmallows and made s'mores, because those are absolutely heavenly and incredible. But there's something so unique and special about campfires in that moment. It almost takes us back to the primitive times of where there was so much more meaning to campfires. I think that campfires represent this life and this light and warmth and safety, right? In the cold, if you've ever been camping in the cold, which I have, having a warm fire is one of the nicest things. It's just this weird amenity that when you're out there in the cold, sometimes you'll put like socks on a rock nearby and they'll heat up and they'll warm up, so your feet will stay warm at night when you go to sleep. There's something so unique. If you've ever been, hiking or traveling, where you have a campfire and you're camping out, having a good campfire is a good thing because it actually will illuminate so you can see all the things around your campsite, but it'll also keep all the predators at bay, right? Like the bears and lions, to make a podcast pun right there. But there's this uniqueness about the campfires and how they represent this life, this warmth, this light, and this safety. And I think it's a great analogy of people and passions and dreams, and our dreams and your dreams, the dreams that you are pursuing, the passions that you are pursuing in life, where there's this fire that's inside of us. There's this fire that we want to find. And a lot of times we'll meet people that have this fire inside of them that's just incredible. And you'll gravitate towards these people because their life is like this just brilliant light that illuminates the path, so you kind of know where to go. Or maybe when you're around them, they just feel so warm and they give you comfort. And maybe they're the person who, when you're around, your shoulders just kind of drop and you can take a deep breath and you just feel like you can let your guard down because you feel safe with them. Just like a campfire, their warmth is something that just fills you and protects you. Their light shines in the darkness of the world that's all around you, and you just feel like this is my safe place. And I can probably guarantee that you've met somebody like that. As I was describing that, there are people that came to your mind that you miss them, or you wish that you could be that for other people as well, because of how integral they were in your life. And these are the people that inspire us. They teach us, they encourage us, because we see their fire inside of them for their passions, the things that they've accomplished, the things that they do. It's made them warm and inviting because they don't have to pretend. They just have done the things in life that they've done. And so they just are themselves, and they illuminate the world around them. And it inspires us to want to become like that. We want to search our own lives and say, what am I passionate about? What can I find? What passions or dreams do I have inside of me that I can help light and ignite and become that fire for somebody else? Because there will be a day when that fire in that person is gone and you're the fire and you're inspiring others along the way. I think that's the whole purpose of this podcast. Is I've lived a lot of life and I've experienced things, and I'm not saying that I know everything in life, because I don't. I know very little in life. But it's easier to just talk it through with you and talk through some of my issues where I refuse to believe that I'm the only one who has these issues or has these thoughts, though it's good to verbalize them and figure out exactly what's going on in my life. But we kind of wonder, how can I ignite the passions and the fires inside of me? How can I reach my dreams? That's our goal, right? We want to reach our dreams. We want to reach our passions. We want them to become full in our lives. And we want people to recognize us as people who are filled with passion and light and warmth. We don't want to be people who are known as cold and dark. We don't want to be known as people who are just very um, rude or misdirecting or lying or cheating or false in any sense of the way. Like, we don't want to be fake people. We want to be real people. If you're listening to this podcast, I can pretty much guarantee that you're somebody who wants to be a light to others. You want to find those passions and pursue them with a strong vigor, because they're good dreams. They're good passions. They're things that you should pursue in life. And life is so wild, because the journey, I think that's part of it, is the exciting parts of the traveling and hiking through these different wildernesses and learning how, certain things are dangerous and certain things aren't. And we need to be able to illuminate and see our way through this wilderness of life. And if you're like me, there's probably been moments in your life where you feel like the fire has taken place. You get so excited. You're like, yes, this is a great opportunity. This is super awesome. This is great. I can do this. I can do this. And right as you feel this spark of excitement, you kind of feel this passion start growing in your life. Maybe it's a new relationship and you're like, she's so sweet. She's so awesome. And date 1 went so well and we were totally into it. And then date 2 comes around and the oxygen's gone. The spark is gone. What's going on? I don't know, but it just kind of fizzles out. And sometimes it's projects that we're working on. I've had this happen a couple times. Honestly, in my 20s, I've had this happen so many times in my 20s where I've had like this passion where I think I know what I want to do, and then it just fizzles out and it fades away. And maybe you've experienced this, but for me, it looked like this. In my 20s, I moved to Louisiana to help open Panera Breads. I opened like 5 different cafes for them, trained a bunch of managers, a bunch of staff members. I think it was like 300 or 400 staff members that I trained over that 2.5 years or so. And then it was like 3 general managers, 3 GMs. And my thought was, oh, this is great. I'm pretty passionate about this. This is like a spark and excitement, and I could do something with this. I can make more money than I had ever before, but I hadn't really made money yet because I was in my 20s. So it was like, this could be fun. And my goal was to become a general manager of a Panera. Like that was what I thought my goal was. That's what I thought my purpose was going to be. I was like, okay, this is going to be great. And within, a few months of doing it, I was excited, all the training. And then I started moving around and opening all these other cafes. And then they kept sending me to these restaurants that were struggling, these cafes that were struggling. So I would go in and help train the managers again and help train the staff again. Sometimes I would help rearrange the store because it was just a mess and it needed to be organized so that we could track food costs and, be able to reach everything and get everything and have good practices, all the training stuff that they teach us. And I was a training manager. I had to make sure that it was all available so I could teach and train it. And then within, I think it was like probably a week of the point when they were like, yeah, we want you to be a GM, but we're going to send you to do this, this, and this. And then they were like, actually, we need you to go do this instead of becoming a GM. And I felt like they kind of sucked the oxygen out of the room a little bit, and that spark fizzled. And at first I was like, well, now what am I going to do with my life? Have you ever asked yourself, have you ever been in a situation where you feel that spark just fizzle and then you wonder, what now? It's like it's like you have a match in the darkness and it lights and you can see for a moment, and then that match goes out and you're like, okay, now I'm in the dark again. And so we recreate these new sparks and these new things, and we're always wondering, it would be nice if we just didn't have to restart all the time. Starting fresh is okay and it's good. And I've talked about starting fresh before. I think it's important to know how to start fresh, as well as recognizing when to start fresh and where. But there's a point where you're like, it would kind of be nice if I didn't have to start over every time. It's like that spark was awesome, but then it fizzled. And that spark was awesome, but it fizzled. And I put a bunch of effort into this, but it fizzled. If you've ever tried to start a fire, then you understand that there's an actual step-by-step process of starting a fire in most cases. Now, of course, it depends on the tools that are available. If you have lighter fluid and a lighter, you can just douse that sucker and just keep pouring lighter fluid on it until eventually it will heat. And this is, I think, how a lot of people will approach life and approach their passions and approach their moments, right? They will take a momentary feeling, or they'll take their momentary passion, and they will pour all of the fuel that they have into it. So they will douse this sucker in kerosene. And they're like, this is going to be great. And that spark will light and burn really fast. But then it'll burn up all that fuel, and it's not hot enough to actually ignite their life and to start burning. So let me break it down to you like this. If you're lighting a fire, just building a fire, you can do it without, I've done it a couple times, without matches or without a lighter. If you have a match or a lighter, it makes it a lot easier. But still, even if you do, you need a few components. You need, one, a starter of some sort, which is like this, usually it's like dry moss or fluff or wood chippings, just real fine wood that is easier to light on fire, and it's easier to catch flame. And then from there, you need kindling of some sort, usually just small twigs that are dry, and you take the twigs, those will light on fire. But then from there, you can't just throw logs on those small twigs. You need to get bigger kindling and bigger kindling. And so you light things in layers until eventually you start adding the logs, because all the kindling is burning bright and hot enough. So you add the logs, then the logs will catch on fire. So that's the process of just starting a fire. And a lot of us will try to bypass steps. So we may get a spark of a passion or a dream or a desire in our lives, and we immediately put logs onto it. And then it doesn't ever catch fire. And we're like, what's going on? Why is my life like this? I guess if it wasn't meant for me, it wasn't for me, right? It's one of the phrases that I hear. If it's meant to be, it'll be. No, I think I think at a core that phrase is a cop-out, because it's saying, you know what? I probably didn't do the things that I should have done or that I could have done to be in a mentality, to be present and to be ready. But since I didn't, it didn't happen. And so we say, I guess it's not meant to be. What we're really saying is, I guess I didn't do what I should have done. And if we just say it's not meant to be, then we actually won't ever learn the lessons that we needed to learn how to become ready. We actually are like wet logs, just waterlogged. If you've ever tried to start a fire with wet logs, wet timber, it is not easy. There's a whole process. One of the reasons why they leave logs all day long in like a stack of logs out in the sun is so that they dry out and they're able to burn. They're ready to burn. They're ready to catch fire because they're dried out. But we get waterlogged with this negative mentality. Sometimes it's our friend group. Sometimes it's our coworkers. Sometimes it's even our family, where they have this mentality that just it isn't good. It isn't helpful. Sometimes it fills us with contempt and negativity. And then we wonder, why aren't these opportunities coming my way? And why is my life not catching fire? I saw this opportunity, it went nowhere. I saw this opportunity, it went nowhere. It's because we're waterlogged in our current state and we're not even flammable. We see all the sparks around us, but we can never feel the heat, or the heat isn't hot enough to ever catch fire. See, I think the first step is we have to dry out. In becoming flammable, if you want to learn how to live a life where you are ready for the moment, Well, all of us want an opportunity. We want the opportunity for that dream job. We want an opportunity for that dream girl or dream guy. We want an opportunity to be able to show the world that, yes, I can do this, and yes, I'm ready for it. However, I think a lot of times we aren't ready for it because we don't treat the moment as if it's going to happen. We think it's going to happen in the future. So we say, nah, I'll deal with it tomorrow. We procrastinate on the very things that are preparing us for the future. So we don't do them. So what we do is we procrastinate the present at the expense of the future. See, we have to learn how to dry out, and we have to actually evaporate that negative mentality, those negative thoughts and the mindsets that everybody has told us. Sometimes it's the lies we tell ourselves where we say, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I can't do this. It's not going to be okay. This is not what I signed up for. Maybe it's the lies that other people have told you, where your parents or your friends have said, no, don't worry. You are perfect the way you are. You're fine. You're not in the wrong. Everybody else is in the wrong. And so you have this twisted mentality where you're like, I've had these job interviews and I never get the job. And I wonder why. All my friends say I'm doing fine and I'm great, but all these interviewers aren't hiring me. It may be the fact that all your friends are wrong and your mindset's wrong. And you need to actually have some humility to kind of check yourself and say, you know what? Maybe there are some things that I could have done better. Maybe I could have prepped for that interview better. Maybe I could have changed some of the things that I was doing. Maybe I could have started saving money earlier, or maybe I could have done X, Y, or Z. And all of these things help us in retrospect, where we learn from them so we don't repeat them. But a lot of us live in this cycle, this vicious cycle of, oh, well, if it's meant to be, it'll be next time. And then they do it again. Well, if it's meant to be, it'll be next time. And then years go by. And I can say this from experience because I didn't get my dream job until I was 35. It wasn't like I just woke up and graduated college when I was 22 and worked my butt off and then had a dream job and then just went on to be successful. It's not how life works. I know people who have done that. In fact, it's one of the most annoying things where I've met people and they've gotten one opportunity, and that one opportunity just burst into flame and their whole entire life changed, and they were, incredibly happy in the dream job with the dream girl or the dream guy in the dream house. And it's like, hold on, what in the world? And they're over here just on fire with life and joy and excitement and all the things that come along with it. And yeah, there's tough times too. And of course, life is hard, so it's not like it's super easy, but they're living the life that it's like, why not me? I'm over here with a Dollar Tree sparkler just kind of fizzling, please light on fire. But what's wrong with me? What's different? And we have to address this sometimes in our lives, and we have to say, maybe I'm not the person who I thought I was. And maybe I've soaked in so many negative thought processes or mentalities or mindsets that I'm not treating the moment correctly. I'm not ready for the moment even. I'm so waterlogged that I'm not flammable. So we have to dry out. That's step one. We have this saying in our office, you have to stand in the fire. And when things suck, sometimes you have to stand in the fire. So if you're trying to start a fire with wet logs, you can either do it one way where you just leave the wet logs in the sun for a long time. So you have to have patience. Patience. It's very hard, but it's very important. And so for a long time, you just dry out naturally. That's the best way to do it because the longer and longer it takes, the more and more prepared you are to catch flame. But a lot of us, again, we shortchange things. So we say, no, I want to start on fire. I want to be on fire now. So I want to skip some steps. I want to be ready. But what we don't realize is what we're actually asking is we're waterlogged and we want to be chucked into the fire and we're going to hiss and sizzle and we have to actually dry out for a while. And we're like, I'm sitting here steaming and it's hot and it's nearly unbearable. Why isn't my life catching flame? Why doesn't it look like theirs? Why doesn't it do this? And we compare ourselves to others, and others will reach their dreams, and others will have their passions, and others will reach their goals, while we are over here just steaming in the moment because we have not prepared ourselves the way that they have. And it takes patience of sitting in the fire. If we want it quicker, we have to just stand in the fire, and we have to dry out. But then for the other people, I've asked myself, what's different about them? Why did they catch fire with one opportunity? Well, that's step 2. They brought the fuel. These are the people who treat the little things like they're the big things. They're the ones who have prepared themselves through daily disciplines, and they've controlled the controllables, and they've built a consistency in their life of where they've kept themselves ready to go. Like the logs that have just sat out in the sun and dried out, they're ready at any moment to catch fire. So their first opportunity comes along, and they've brought the fuel. They have treated all the little things that they can control. They've compiled all of the fuel and the starters and the little tinder that you need. And then they've compiled the kindling through daily disciplines and all of the preparation. They have stacks and stacks of different size of kindling. So one spark is all they need, that little ember, and they know how to treat it right, and they know how to care for it, and they'll breathe into it just enough to where it'll catch flame. And then that kindling will catch flame. And then all they have to do is be ready and accept it. And their whole life changes. So you have to be ready. Patience is not just a virtue. It's necessity. It's a necessity in the moment. You have to learn how to outlast that momentary feeling of discomfort and be ready, because you never know when that spark of opportunity is going to come along the way. And you want to be able to treat it right. You want to be ready, and you want to be flammable so that your entire life, because that one spark could catch flame and change your life completely. But if you're not ready, and you don't bring the kindling, and you don't bring the fuel, and you don't treat the little things like the big things, it just fizzles out. And you're left wondering, what's going on with my life? Why are all these other people reaching their goals and passions, and life is just passing me by? It's really hard. I love listening to Modern Wisdom. It's a podcast by Chris Williamson, and Chris does an incredible job. He brings a variety of guests on the podcast. I highly recommend it. But he brings these guests on, and he asks great questions. And Chris is around my age. I think he's maybe a year older than me. So he's around 36, 37. And I appreciate his questions. And one of the things that he talks about very often, he commonly talks about it, is this thing, what he describes as the lonely chapter. And it's this chapter where you no longer fit in with your current friends or the friends that you've had in the past, but you haven't adequately developed your skills or developed your life or prepared yourself to step into the future with the friends that you want to be friends with, the friends that you're going to be friends with. And so you're stuck in this in-between, and it's this lonely chapter, and unfortunately, it doesn't have a time frame. And so you wonder, like, when will I get there? And sometimes in the pursuit of greatness, or in the pursuit of your greatest passions and your desires and your dreams and your future, it feels cold and lonely. And I think that's when it's most important to recognize the people around you, and recognize people who you may not even know, but you know that they are on fire. Which is one of the reasons why I have a friend of mine who I reached out to recently. He's one of my old college roommates, and I've reconnected with him because he's one of the few people in my life that has been that fire. He's been that safety. He's been the everything I've needed in the moments that I've needed, and I've reached out to him and rekindled that friendship. So on days when I feel cold and wet and dry, you just completely rot with exhaustion and loneliness, and I feel like the world is collapsing in darkness around me, I reach out to Ben and I say, hey, what's going on with your life? Because just him telling me what he's doing in his life, his light illuminates onto my life, and it reminds me I'm pushing towards something too. The road to your greatest future is filled with times where you're going to feel completely drenched and soaked and waterlogged, and that's okay. But knowing how to stand in the fire will reheat you and re-dry you, and sometimes you need friends that are warm that will come around you and help dry you out and warm you up. And life is going to be cold and dark and lonely at times, and honestly, you may be feeling that right now. And if you are, I just want you to hear this. As somebody who's been going through this for a long time, I just want you to know that you're going to make it. That you can get through this, that you're not alone. For thousands of years, people have felt this overwhelm and felt this loneliness and this emotional heartache and brokenness, that it's driven them to new levels of being able to pursue life. And they're the lights that when those fires ignite, they burn so bright, and they recognize that they're burning not just for themselves, but for the other people who are going to feel alone. And they're a beacon of hope. And they're a beacon that says, come near me. I'm warm. I'm safe. You can find rest here. And I think we all want to be the people who are on fire. We want our passions to burn within us. We want to be an encouragement to the people around us. We want to have that light and that just safety and security. We want to be known for it. We don't want to be filled with bitterness and contempt, and we don't want people to look at us when we walk in the room and it just feels like all the oxygen sucked out of the room when we walk in. We all know people like that, and we don't want to be like that. We want to be the people who, when we walk in the room, the lights turn on and you can see the smiles, and people know that you are warmth, and they know that you are welcoming, and they know that you're somebody who's going to provide that warmth and comfort and safety. That you're somebody who they can talk to and feel comfortable talking to. We want to reach our dreams and passions, and honestly, we want to be that light to others. I think the fire is what unites us, right? All of us, with the desire to be better, the desire to reach our dreams, the desire to reach our goals. They're good goals. They're great goals. They're moral and healthy goals to pursue. They're things that we should be pursuing. New jobs, new careers, new relationships and friendships, and new skills. All of these things are good. They're healthy. We should always be growing and learning, building community and new opportunities for other people, including ourselves. It brings us together, and it warms us, and it makes us feel safe when we are that fire, which is why we love the fire. We like the fire, right? We share pictures with quotes of the fire on social media. We wear t-shirts with the fire. We listen to podcasts that teach us about the fire. And when we finally grow up and recognize that we have to take responsibility, we learn that we are the fire, that we are the people who burn from the inside out, that we shine light to the people around us. And whether they recognize it or not, maybe they're so stuck in the darkness that they need somebody to just simply say, hey, you're doing great. You're going to make it. And maybe you're the person who right now is in the darkness, and I am just telling you right now, you're not alone, and you're going to make it. Hang in there. Stand in the fire. It's going to hurt for a while. I promise it's going to hurt, and I'm sorry it's going to hurt. But you're going to make it. Your passions and your dreams and the things that your future holds are so much greater than you could ever imagine. Don't quit now, and don't procrastinate on them now. Control what you can control. Set small daily things that you can do, that you can celebrate those victories. Stack the kindling and the fuel together, where you know if you get an opportunity You've taught yourselves the skills to nurture that little ember into a blazing fire so that your life will be this beacon to other people. I wish I could tell you that the lonely chapter has like this set time frame, that it's only here for a certain amount of time and then it goes away. But I can't. I feel like I've been in the lonely chapter for about 8 years. Somewhere around 8 years. But I can say without a shadow of a doubt that all throughout this time I've grown in patience. I've learned how to control the controllables and the things that I can, and I've let go of the things that I can't control of. And I feel like over the last year and a half or more of doing this podcast, I've just grown in this responsibility and this duty to be a fire and a light to you, to be present and to be real and honest with you about the conversations that are going on and the things that are happening in my life, because I want to guide you and help you understand that you are not alone. And this may be the only podcast that you listen to. It may be one of 100 podcasts that you listen to. But I hope and I pray that this podcast will always be a voice that speaks life, hope, and joy. Because you are the fire. Everything about you, everything that you are pursuing, your passions, your dreams, your realities, when you understand how to build that fire and you learn that patience and you bring the fuel, every opportunity you get can be life-changing, not just for you, but for the people around you, for the people that you're going to meet in the future. There are people right now that will be impacted by your passions and your dreams and your future that you're creating. And you have the opportunity to be the warmth and the light and be the safety for other people. But you also have the opportunity, if you don't do anything, you have the opportunity to be the opposite. And it'll suck the oxygen out of the room. And you'll continually wonder, why am I not looking like them? Why do I not reach my goals like they are? Why do I not experience the joy or experience the life that they have? And you'll surround yourself with bitterness and compare yourself until it's years have gone by and you're just waterlogged with those thoughts of negativity and bitterness and contempt. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. I spent years of my life in that mindset of thinking, if only I do X, Y, and Z, I'd burn myself out by throwing all of my fuel on at the same time and just say, let's burn it all. If you've ever seen alcohol burn, it burns so quickly on the surface because it's just the vapor that burns. And so you can actually hold fire. If you put alcohol in your hand, you can actually light it on fire and it'll burn upwards. It'll get hot, but it'll burn up pretty quick if you just put a little. And that's what happens is we'll throw all of our fuel down and then we'll just burn out. And it's not fun. But I can promise you a few things. One, if you are able to learn how to be patient, you're going to recognize that every opportunity is so incredible and so amazing. And every opportunity, you won't let it go. You'll get an opportunity and you'll be like, this is going to be incredible. This is going to be exciting. It may not go anywhere, but we're going to fuel that flame. And sometimes you're going to have opportunities that it's not meant for you. It's meant for somebody else. So it's your job to stoke the fire and to keep it aflame so that when you pass it off to the next person, they're able to accept it. And you know what? They may not be ready for it, but if you've stoked it adequately, it might be just so overwhelming that it ignites their life and changes their life forever. The other thing I can promise you is the mundane things in life, the little things in life become the big things. You cannot start a large fire unless you have the kindling. Compile it, gather it, every skill that you can, every opportunity you can gain a new skill, everything you can do to be ready in the moment. Life happens so quickly, and those moments will pass you by, and that spark will fizzle, and you won't even realize that it happened. You'll wake up one day and you'll go, where did that opportunity go? I thought it was going to be here forever. It's not. Bring the kindling. Learn how to have daily disciplines, whether it's meditation to clear your head or gym to be healthy and in shape and ready to do whatever you need to do. Maybe it's a certain savings that you want to save up and be ready to go. If you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're spending more and more and more, there's things that you need to start learning. Maybe you need to reach out to somebody who's financially stable and say, hey, I need to learn these practices because I just can't seem to get out from under myself. And I want to be able to move for a new job if I need to. I need to be able to go to another state if I need to. I need to be able to, get a new car. Like for me, it was, I moved up here and then all of a sudden my car exploded and I needed a new car. And thankfully, very thankfully, I was in a position where it didn't just completely ruin me. But that's because I'd put a lot of kindling together, and the opportunity that I had to have, I mean, that's just, it was unfortunate, but I was prepared. As prepared as I could be. I wish I could tell you that all of these lessons and the fire and the things that we pursue in life, I wish I could tell you it was easier, but I would be lying to you. And life is so full of joy, and I think that the joy comes from the recognition that we can do really difficult things. How incredible do you feel after a good workout? How incredible do you feel after you accomplish a project? How incredible did you feel after you graduated from middle school or high school or college? It's an accomplishment. And when you accomplish something that's difficult, it changes and shifts your mindset and it helps you say, if I can do that, then maybe I can do this. And the entire process and purpose of this podcast is because I believe that our greatest future lies within the correct view of our past. Because when you accurately view your past, you're going to see all the things that you've actually done. And you'll say, if I can do that, I can handle what's in front of me. And it gives you confidence. And it gives you an understanding that, yes, it's going to be hard. And yes, it hurts because you know what? That hurt really bad, but I made it through. So I expect this is going to be hard and this is going to hurt, but I'm going to make it through. And it's going to prepare me so that tomorrow when that thing comes up and it's this wild thing or a wild opportunity, you may say, I don't know if I can do it. And you look back and you say, well, I did that, that, and that. And if I can do those things, I'm going to learn how to make it through this. I'm going to learn how to do this. It's something that I can do. It's something that I can accomplish. And it gives you that motivation and that fire that people see and they get excited about. That's what this podcast is all about. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you that listen to this podcast. And it's been awesome to kind of expand and go a little bit longer than I used to. And instead of doing 2 episodes, 2 short episodes a week, I've been doing these 1 episodes a week that are longer because I feel like there's more that I need to say about certain topics. And maybe it's me just rambling and putting a bunch of filler, but it's my way of having the conversation with myself. Because you know what? I listen to this podcast as well. And there are days when I go back and I'll listen to an episode and be like, I needed to hear that today. And I hope that you'll go back and listen to the podcast and the episodes that you need to hear. But I'm so thankful. I really hope that you will have an incredible week. I hope that you'll share this podcast with a friend or two, or maybe a family member or somebody who you just want to help them learn how to be flammable and learn how to ignite their passions. I really hope that you'll share this. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you hit that follow button and subscribe, all the good jazz. For everybody else, I hope that you have a wonderful week. Remember to give grace, show love, and as always, stay stellar. Peace.